Hello, Mary Lou, goodbye heart. Sweet Mary Lou, I'm so in love with you. It's me, 60s American rock and roll singer-songwriter, Ricky Nelson. I'm joined by Jake Kulkowski and Gareth Evans. How are you doing, guys? How are you doing? Welcome to episode 72.
Pleased to meet you. I've never heard of you before, but it's nice to meet you.
You've heard that song, mate. You've definitely heard that song.
Yeah, maybe. But
okay, it is me saying that as Ricky Nelson, but you've definitely heard it.
That's what they all say, Ricky. That's what they all say.
So this is episode 72 of the Pretty Good Gaming Podcast. This is the podcast where we talk about video games, and we need your help to do it. We put the podcast together with the support of our Patreon backers. So if you join us on Patreon, you get early access to this very podcast, and then you can respond to the post on Patreon and ask us questions. Any question you want. If it's about the games industry, it's about what our opinions are about whatever video games or mods. We get a lot of questions about mods, incidentally. But anyway, they're all questions from you guys, our Patreon supporters. And if you want to take part and join in, support us on Patreon for $1 a month, and there'll be a link in the description if you want to do that. And you can ask us questions like this one from Blizzard Smith, who asks, what is your opinion on grinding? I recently reloaded an already 70-hour save file on Ni no Kuni to eventually finish and try and 100% the game, only to find I was looking at a minimum of another 50 hours of grinding. I know this might not be my genre, and I'm free to play something else, but the question is it designed to be like this? Who is getting pleasure from such levels of repetition? So grinding in video games is just the general thing of doing the same thing over and over and over again, for the end goal of just being a bit more strong or to level up or whatever. I think it is. I put this right at the top of the podcast because I think it's a big open topic. Like, what is the benefit of it? Is there any enjoyment to be had out of it? And do you guys do it? So do you guys any play games where it's just straight repetition and you're only doing the thing that you're doing so you can level up and become stronger?
Well, and there's a case to be put that every game is grindy if you don't like the gameplay. And that's the way I see it, right? If you like the gameplay, you don't see it as grindy, you'll do it anyway, even though it's a chore for a lot of people who might not like it.
There's only a few games, I think, where if you drill down, and they're very short games, and they're games like What Remains of Edith Finch or something, where there's so much variety in it. You could not say there's any kind of repetition in that at all, pretty much. But it's designed like that, and that's a very rare instance. But you're right, I think that basically every game has a certain level of repetition in it. What about you, Jake? Where do you stand on this?
It's a bit of a weird on this because, like, alright, so on the PlayStation, I have a feeling that they used grinding and level, like they put enemies certain levels of difficulty, and then the only way you could get to that level of difficulty would be to grind, like Final Fantasy VII or whatever. I used to have to spend quite a lot of time, like in forests, getting my levels up just to do the next bit. You know, not strictly forests, any biome. But nowadays, games like are kind of made in a way where you're leveling up as you're playing the game, and you won't have to sit in an area farming enemies like in an MMO. But back in the day, that was very common practice, wasn't it? You used to have to kill the same enemies 20 times just to get your character from level, 70 to 80. And I remember there'd be a part like Final Fantasy VII, before you go into the crater near the end, I remember going, right, I'm going to get an extra 20 levels. And I was just sitting, grinding. But then nowadays, they kind of figured out different ways and different hooks and different, things that you can do to level up. So, for example, let's just take an open world game. You can level up by doing side quests now. Rather than grinding the same enemy over and over again, you could do a different thing each time. Collect 10 balls of wool, collect 10 sheaths of wheat or whatever. And you can level up that way, you know what I mean? Very exciting. I'm trying to think of mundane side quests.
You did a good job.
So I don't know what its purpose is. I imagine it was purposely put there as padding because the only association of difficulty was enemy level and stuff back then. And now, because things have kind of moved on, it always feels wrong and weird having to sit and do the same area over and over again to get better. I just did the Dark Souls trilogy without having to do any of that. But imagine if that was on the PS1, there'd be parts where I'd have to kill the same enemy over and over and over and over again.
Dark Souls is built so that you do have to do it. If you die, you've got to run through the same area again, and that's part of the game. Ni no Kuni is another example of a single player game where the grinding has become a thing for him here, and I think that's a big distinction. The single player or multiplayer is the big differentiator, because in most multiplayer games, multiplayer by nature is doing the same thing, the same maps, the same game modes and whatever, and people just don't think of it as grinding in the same way. And I think like people talk about like Destiny's grind at the end game grind, and they want it. They want to have more stuff. They want to have more things to repeat, to keep doing, to keep checking in every week. And I am almost there. Like I played that for like, checking in every week to stop in. So I think with something like Ni no Kuni, it's a different experience because you're grinding so you can finish the game. Yeah. So you need to level up your character.
Quite classic JRPG though, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Basically walling off the end of the game to either really, really, really skilled players who have got a very select set of equipment, or you have to grind just to do it. So you have to put time aside, go, all right, I'll put a podcast on, maybe it's this one, and then just put the telly on mute or whatever and just grind away. And I don't know, I don't necessarily find enjoyment out of that, and I don't think I've had to do that in ages. I played Ni no Kuni 2, and there's a couple of side quests I did, but I haven't had to grind in a game for ages. Can't even remember the last time. Final Fantasy 7 maybe, you know what I mean? That long
Where you
ago.
really had to go, right, I'm just going to do this repetitive task so that I level up.
Yeah, farming, I guess.
Yeah, it is,
I mean, I guess it depends on your definition of grinding. We're taking to extreme, I guess, here, whereas grinding is specifically doing the same thing over and over, the same exact thing over and over again, whereas you could consider grinding to be doing the same kind of combat over and over again, and not as specific as that.
Yeah. I'd say the grindiest type of experience I've had recently is any given Ubisoft open world game, any Assassin's Creed, any Far Cry, especially Assassin's Creed. It's just run over here, climb up the tower, drop down from the tower, clear this outpost, do this, do that, and it's just the same thing
just
multiplied.
Ticking things off.
And that kind of open world design, which really came to a head with Shadow of War, which I did not enjoy because people were confused what we were saying about that game, thinking we were saying, the microtransactions and that's why we don't like it, and think. But no, it's just because there was so much open world padding in it. That is why I did not enjoy it, and it was open world padding the game with the Nemesis system in it. And that was the problem, and that is grinding to me. That is major league kind of grinding. Guys, where do you kind of when was the last time you ever had to do this? When was the last time you sat at your computer and thought, I'm just grinding away here, I'm just kind of doing the same thing over and over again?
I do that very little because I don't have a lot of time for grinding things. If I feel like I'm grinding, I'll just quit it. I'll be like, I'm fucking bored now, I'll move on. So I don't say, I just don't get, I haven't got the patience to do that these days. Maybe I would have. I think it was Persona 5, I guess, is the prime example for me.
Another big JRPG, like Ni no Kuni.
Yeah, and I'm just like, and I was there skipping, I wasn't even interested, like 20 hours in or whatever, I wasn't even interested in the dialogue anymore. I was like, just get to the fucking point, like, just skipping through it, and I'm like, why am I even bothering? I'll just quit. It's not the game for me. I mean, I appreciate it for what it is. People love that game. It's just not for me.
Yeah.
Well, the end of this question, if I remember, is something like, do you enjoy...
Who's getting pleasure from this?
So definitely not Gaz. I don't... Sometimes I find it doing repetitive things therapeutic in an open world game, like if they're different enough, but they're never really thrilling. And the fact that all of a sudden I realised that I'm just listening to a podcast as my main focus... and playing the game as my second focus. Yeah. I don't think a game should be that, know? Yeah. So I don't really enjoy it. And, like, some people will buy a game if they're promised hundreds of hours of content, won't they? Yeah. Even if they know it's going to be grindy. I am not one of them people. I guess Gaz isn't one of them people.
I mean, actually, I love a grind when the game is good. Like, I mean, for example, State of Decay 2, right? It's grindy to go out and collect resources, but I love doing that. I love
because the end goal is an enjoyable idea in that game for some people. Building up an outpost,
it's
building
like
up a
survival,
community.
And building up what you've got, building up your. But I enjoy that because the gameplay is good enough to get me through that. Yeah. So I'm not completely against grinding. Like I said at the beginning, if I like the gameplay, I'll grind all day.
Yeah, and I'm the same with certain games. Like I've played God knows how many, probably thousands of hours of Total War as a series, and I've never once thought this is repetitive, even though I'm basically doing the same thing every time, but with different like variables, like different units and different enemies and stuff. But because that's exactly the kind of game that I love, so it doesn't cross my mind that it is grinding. Same goes for Destiny, even though I will look at that and go, yeah, that is a grindy game. It's designed like a grindy game, but I'm not thinking that when I'm doing it. I'm not thinking, I can't wait to get home and grind away for a few hours on Destiny. I just want to go and shoot some aliens, and I'll do that periodically rather than hammer it over hours and hours and hours. I'll just check in for a couple of hours at a time. So I think it is a mindset thing. I think there are games that cater to it really well. For me, it was The Division and Destiny. I'm looking forward to The Division and Anthem to a certain degree, although that is going to be a proper single player type thing as well, like this BioWare storytelling thing as well. So yeah, that's a good question. Thanks, Blizzard Smith, and let us know, you guys, in the comments what your opinion is on that, because it's a big open topic, that, and I think loads of people they stand completely differently on it, and people at different times feel differently about the same thing. So Jay Jackson asks the next question: if gaming was used more in education, what potential positive impact do you think it could have? Games that have consequence systems like Life is Strange could give teachers in secondary schools the opportunity to challenge students to discuss morally grey areas of society, which might help them deal with life better once they leave school. So that's a bit of a left field pick there, Jay Jackson. But that's,
Life is Strange, getting teachers and pupils to have a bit of a weird discussion. I don't know if you picked that on purpose, but that's very funny.
Yeah.
Very funny. Games are kind of being used a bit more. I don't know if you like.
Minecraft's the main one, isn't it?
That anecdotally.
Yeah.
I know Ellie plays Minecraft in school and that, and loves it. But then I got Minecraft on the PS4 to say, why don't we play Minecraft together? She doesn't know. She hadn't seen a creeper. She hadn't seen the skeletons and stuff. So she must be playing like the educational version.
Must be different builds
safe
of it.
Version. Yeah, because she's not interested in fucking fighting creepers and that.
Yeah.
So it's very cool, because at the end of the day, it's transformative in nature. It's not like a textbook where it's just, here is the fact, here is the way to do it, this is the end result. It's not A plus B equals C. With a game, it's like, it's kind of individual to everyone playing it, and you can kind of get your own enjoyment out of it your own way. So that's very powerful for education.
Yeah. It's more of an ideas tool, isn't it? And get them to make their own ideas and stuff first. Where are you on this?
I actually love the idea that the
Life is Strange example.
Well, it's using an interactive medium to explore things like morality, right? Because essentially, historically, we read from the Bible, right? The 10 Commandments. This is what you should do. This is what's right and wrong, right? But for kids, like, who gives a flying fuck about that when you're a kid? Like, you're gonna engage with that. It's just someone telling you the rules. You're not even thinking about it. Oh, okay, these are the rules. But having an engaging way to experience things like that, and not just playing through the game, but exploring the dilemmas into depth and thinking, like, why are we choosing this? Like, what repercussions does this have on X, Y, and Z? Like, what, and going into detail and in depth like that in a game, I think it would be an awesome way to get kids engaged in the topic, and get them excited about it or interested in it without just throwing information at their faces.
There are certain games that are historical and full of information by nature, and Assassin's Creed have made great strides, and I criticise the game a lot, but Assassin's Creed Origins, of course, there's a museum mode. And a lot of people are actually saying that the game itself is a better reflection of historical thing anyway. Just playing through the story itself is a good sample of what we know about ancient Egypt, kind of thing, and that's really good, and I'm fully behind that idea. The fact that Ubisoft spends so much money and there's so many thousands of people working on building these worlds just to be disposed of after 12 months when the next one comes, use that as an interactive museum. Yes, amazing. I think that's a great idea, and I think that's the best possible use of Ubisoft's version of ancient Egypt after the game's been sold God knows how many times. 12 months down the line, just give it away as an educational mode. You
imagine going to school, right, and learning about the Middle Ages by playing Total War, and them showing you on the screen battles happening and which king was where and what they were doing. Harold gets an arrow to the eye. That would be awesome, right?
Remember it.
You definitely would.
And the series, there was the TV series called Time Commanders in the UK, which was based on Rome Total War, right?
I thought Horrible Histories was going to get mentioned. I was like,
honestly, Time Commanders, and it wasn't pitched as a video game thing. It was like historical battles, and the idea was that, like, just a group of accountants or something would like see how they would. It was almost like team building. See how they would cope as generals and officers in an army, and they had a structure, and they had to like make decisions about these big battles and stuff. And that was an historical kind of semi-educational thing about ancient battle formations.
Actual historians were there, like. setting up the scenarios.
And that's right. And they would say, you're over here, you're on the hill, and then they're down there, and they're doing this, and they've just come from this other battle, so they're tired, and all that. And they give you all this like actual historical information. So there's loads of creative things you can do with it. We are getting there. I think we're naturally getting there in terms of Minecraft has already made huge strides, like we said, and Assassin's Creed again needs another mention because that's doing great work, and I hope they keep that up. I hope they keep, whatever the next Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I hope they do the same thing there. Like, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you have a ancient Greece tour?
They've already got historical figures in there. Socrates is one of the characters in the game, you know, and ancient Greece is filled with loads of history, isn't it? So.
So there you go. Thanks, Jay Jackson, for that question. Bossosaurus with the next one. Do you think that Microsoft and Sony will try to revolutionize their consoles within the next few generations? And if so, what do you think will change? We've seen a trend shift this generation with mid-gen consoles like the Pro and S. But I think X, I guess is what you mean there. But we also saw a backlash at Microsoft for trying to change too much with the X-Bone too quickly. I figure long before we get pure streaming consoles, we'll just have more mid-gen consoles, and everything from here on out will just be a blur due to backwards compatibility and constantly upgrading specs. So the X-Bone, there was a huge backlash because... like you say, they were trying to push things a bit too far, too early. With in about 2013, 2012, whatever, people weren't ready for like everything that Microsoft wanted to do. But there's been some think pieces and stuff recently I've read on various gaming websites and stuff saying that maybe Microsoft was actually going almost in a good direction, but we just weren't ready for it. But there was just some bad ideas in there that. Just no one wants to not be able to trade in their games, for example. That's not good. But where do we think consoles will be in the next few years? What are the next set of consoles going to do? Are they going to be a revolution? Is it going to be a new thing? Is it going to be more about streaming, or is it going to keep going the way it is? PlayStation 5, Xbox One X.
I feel like I don't know. I don't think I've been in the last two podcasts, but the last one I was in, I answered the same question, so I'll just say the same thing and it's copy and paste it. And basically, it's just going to be better hardware, big focus on backwards compatibility, and probably one mid-gen console again for the fucking, whatever they are. I don't know, resolution snobs. I don't know who's buying these mid-gen consoles, but someone is. In fact, everyone apart from me. I know that's one. But they'll do that because they make a killing off it. Like I say, everyone I know has fell to that mid-gen thing, and they must have made a killing, and they'll do that again next gen for sure. You'll get PS5, PS5.5 or whatever. But it's just they're gonna have to focus on backwards compatibility, because if you're making shit this fast, you're going to have to focus on letting people come through with their PS4 library or whatever. Xbox are already doing it. It's the best thing about their gen. It's the best thing Xbox have done this gen is backwards compatibility. It's like the only thing that they've done apart from make like 9 consoles. So I think that Xbox have got the right idea. They had the wrong idea with making everything DRM. They had the right idea with backwards compatibility. And I reckon that they'll just do that. I'm just more interested in seeing what fucking stupidly weird stuff Nintendo will do next gen. There's no doubt going to be fucking ace. So
we talked about that in last podcast.
Can't wait for the Nintendo mind control.
You weren't here, but we had a big conversation about whether or not the Switch would be like, do they just keep working on the Switch and building around the Switch, or is there going to be a new console that'll be a completely different idea again?
We had that thing about when the Wii was out and they were researching into getting like headbands on so they could get people to control things with temples. So it could be shit like that, innit? Do you know what I mean? You know how the Tobii eye tracker works? Yeah. It works on something to do with how when your eyes move, something to do with how your temples move to react to that. And they were trying to get it so you could use your eyes to control balls and stuff like that.
All I'm going to say is wearable stuff doesn't really... When was the last wearable thing that took off?
I don't know, man. But if anyone can do it, it's Nintendo. So, yeah. That's my hot take.
I don't know.
Let me have it.
I'm not convinced about that.
Like brain things on you, so they can track your brain waves and you can interact without even doing anything. Yeah.
Brain training extreme.
Yeah.
As for the what I think, the next generation of consoles, I think it's
specifically, are they going to keep Microsoft and Sony going to revolutionize, or is it going to become just more of an iterative?
I don't think there'll ever be a revolution. I think it's always restricted by what hardware is available, and I think that technology and what processors capacities are and what the advancements in technology is at the time will always dictate what you get out of your console generation. And 3 years down the line, or wherever we are in a couple of years, that will dictate what the next PlayStation and Xbox looks like. And but the thing is that if technology speeds up really quickly and processors get like 10 times faster in the next 5 years or something, that's why they bring out these mid
it just overtakes almost. It goes too far ahead of them, and they're like, shit.
We need to release the mid-generation console, because they don't want to hold developers back, because essentially a PC platform can do so much more. Terafloppage is the big term that they use in terms of processing power, right? So the amount of teraflops that they've got in the Xbox One X, right, is not quite enough to achieve the 60 frames a second 4K. They've got to upscale the 4K, whatever, and that's what it is currently. So imagine in 5 years they've got X amount of terafloppage. Now, what do they do with all those system resources? And this is what I'm talking about with trying not to hold back the developers, because you want the best games on the consoles, so you want to provide the most amount of power in those consoles. So I feel like it's all dependent on technology, how fast that will progress, and it will dictate what we get out of our consoles.
I think if you look at the way the games themselves are going now, where it's becoming less about sticking a new number on the end of it and coming out with a new game as just supporting the game that you've got, that's becoming more of a thing. Like, it's just Fortnite is still Fortnite. They didn't come out with Fortnite 2 Battle Royale. They just updated Fortnite. And then the Culling 2's come out, and they've called that the Culling 2, and that's gone down like a lead balloon because they've just done a new game rather than update the one they've already got. So I think that might almost, that kind of sensibility might transfer to the console itself, and that might be like a thing where you just got the PlayStation or the Xbox, and you've got like the latest model of it, and you can still play all of your games. Backwards compatibility is an absolute farce on PlayStation, because there's no real reason outside of money for them to not let you play your old games, and the Xbox approved.
I had a look into this, and I don't know, a bit of trivia for anyone. PS3 was completely different hardware than like normal.
Oh yeah, that's like a well-known thing.
It's a shit show in it. So like,
but you've got all these PS1 and PS2 games on the PlayStation Store, which you can buy. But if you've got the disc, you can't put if you put it in, fucking nothing happens.
You can't.
So you can't just play the games that you already own. So if you already got Red Dead Revolver on PS2, well, tough shit. You got to put it in your PS2, or you got to buy it from the PlayStation Network store if you want to play it on the PS4. What's the reason for that? Really, nothing. It's stupid. It's just an old-fashioned way of that is the mentality of 4 or 5 years ago, and things have moved on very quickly, thanks mainly to Xbox. So I think it might become this more what you point out there, Bossosaurus, of it becoming more of a blur. That's what I think. It'll be more of a you're in Sony's lane, you're in Microsoft's lane, and then you've just got whatever bit of hardware you want, and then just you don't need to keep buying the next gen, because it'll just be slightly like a mobile phone. You just have the slightly more powerful console.
I feel like a 3 or 4 year, rather than like the console generation 6 or 7 years, whatever they were in previously. I think the way technology is going, 3 or 4 years, and obviously a game development cycle as well. You don't want to be developing a game for old hardware or whatever. 3 or 4 years seems about right for just having these iterative upgrades.
That's it. So thanks for the question, Bossosaurus. Elliot Gardner with the next one. Hey lads, been playing Hellblade recently. Not finished it, so no spoilers, pretty please. All right. And it's a great game. However, the unlocking of doors by finding shapes in the wild is bloody annoying. And there is a special place in hell reserved for whoever's idea that was. That's okay. I feel like you've literally just struggled through one of them puzzles, Elliot, and opened up your phone and typed up this comment. What is your opinion of this? Are there any game mechanics that you guys think of need not be there? So in any game, any like one particular mechanic that stood out. So let's talk about that Hellblade one specifically first. I thought that was all right. I thought that was quite a nice environmental puzzle, because the whole game is just about walking and looking at stuff and then cutting things in half with a sword. And I think the fact that the puzzles were built around what you're seeing in the world and how you perceive things, that's, thematically with the story, spot on. That's excellent, actually. So I actually really liked it. So I don't know, what about you guys? What did you think of those puzzles?
I don't like them.
You don't like them?
No, I don't like them. I don't like any of that. It's just weird visual puzzles. Just not into them. I don't think that, I won't take them out.
Do you like puzzles of any kind?
I don't mind, but if it's stuff like that, just like looking at things. I mean, I know what you're saying about it being part of the game's theme, so it makes sense. It makes more sense to have done it than anything else I can think of, for sure. So I'm not saying it's bad, and I wouldn't take it out, give it a choice. But personally, for me, I don't know. It always slows down the momentum of games for me, and it's just like, you know, like when you've got 2 of the 3 and you're looking for that third one.
Yeah.
You just like, I'm like, what the fuck, you know? It's just, I wouldn't say I was bad at them either necessarily. It's just they don't really do anything for me.
Yeah.
Not every mechanic's gonna.
There's a couple of moments in Hellblade where it didn't really occur to me, because when I was playing it myself, I was just in the game. I was just enjoying the game. But when we were streaming it, and I was replaying it, and a couple of the puzzles were like, because it doesn't come to you immediately, you're very aware suddenly that the story's going, the game's going, and then it just stops dead like that, like exactly like you said, and it just kind of comes to a complete screeching halt because you can't find the third.
For some like reason, it just doesn't seem to be beneficial at all to like the plot or anything. So like, you know, it's not that I'm trying to make a pile on here, but I would say out of all mechanics, this would be my answer anyway, probably, I would say visual puzzles. I remember like Saw, the video game, had a bunch of them as well. Fucking shit then, you know.
So there was something shit in the Saw game.
There's visual annoying puzzles, ones that where like you don't, and you're not sure how much backtracking's involved as well. So you could be like going all the way back for no reason. Say with Hellblade, you can go all the way back. And like, where does this place start? Where does this visual puzzle area start? You know.
You got any mechanics that you'd like to tear out of games, Gareth? Any?
None that I can think of off the top of my head.
I've got a very easy one. Collectibles. Just what's the point? What's the point collecting stuff? The feathers in Assassin's Creed, obviously the famous one. But I just don't get it.
They are optional though. I mean, whereas the puzzles
I don't want the
aren't.
option. And one example is very not optional, which is Batman Arkham Knight. You had to get every single one of these little Riddler trophies ones, or whatever, to see the real ending. And unless you collect all of them, you feel like you haven't really completed the game, and you've got to jump on. What the hell? Who thought that was a good idea?
It's like 300 of them or something.
There were shitloads of them, and they were like little puzzles as well. Like,
they were riddles.
That's right, Jake. They were, the Riddler trophies were riddles. It's like it's a horrible idea, and I know that they've made this open world thing, and they want you to explore all of it, but do what Nintendo did with Breath of the Wild and kind of gently push them from behind, rather than going, come over here, come over here, come over here, come over here, like dangling carrots in front of you everywhere. No. So that's my answer.
I guess if there was one thing I could take out of games, it would be parts of a game that takes your control away, which might be a cutscene, for example, like a 20-minute cutscene where you just got to sit there and fucking wait for it, or skip it and miss the fucking story. Why not make the game so that I'm playing the story, so I'm creating the story as I'm going along? Anything that... for example, the other example is in Call of Duty recently, where you're on the Omaha Beachland or whatever, and then you're forced to look a certain direction while a big explosion goes on. It's like, fuck that.
That cost us 40 grand.
You're going to fucking look at it.
Yeah, see it,
yeah. It's that kind of thing that kind of irritates me. It's where like I don't feel like I'm playing anymore. There's no control.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I hate the kind of grab, the first person especially, the grabbing your head and going, look at this, and okay, there you go, you can keep playing. I'm totally with you there. I like that in some proper PC games like Dishonored and games like Arcane Studios generally, like Prey as well, where when you interact, you're still in the game, you're still playing it, if you're watching people talking, you're in control. Even in Prey, when you're using like computer screens and stuff, you're still in the game. You can walk away from the computer whenever you want. It doesn't lock you into the screen. You know, it's good stuff, that. So I like that. But that's a good question, Elliot. Thank you. Let us know, you guys, in the comments as well, what mechanics you don't like. Mounty Man asks the next one. Do you all think a game being as mainstream and as popular as Fortnite is right now is a good or actually harmful thing for the industry as a whole? So that's a big question, I guess, and here's their answer to it. I think it has negative effects that are often ignored, such as a company not feeling like they need to innovate anymore, like what happened to COD, for example. So getting less resting on their laurels, we're that big.
Yeah.
And they're just not really going anywhere with this series, Call of Duty, because they don't need to. They just made loads of money. So is Fortnite good or bad for the industry?
I mean, on a specific case like Call of Duty, it's bad if they rest on their laurels and don't innovate. It's bad for them, right? Because they'll see the brunt of that, like they have done. People will lose interest. For Fortnite is not that case at all, because Fortnite are always innovating. They're always bringing new stuff. They're always changing the game. They're always responding and making the game interesting. So I don't think that popularity of a game causes the developer itself to get complacent. I don't believe that that is the cause of that. It depends on the developer, obviously. But as for the positives of a big game like Fortnite being huge at the moment, it brings gaming into the popular culture, right? It gets people talking about games, right? Whether for ill or for good, whatever. All right, we get some negative headlines from the likes of the Daily Mail or whatever. Oh, Fortnite's ruining your children. Your children are going to be whatever. That'll always come. That's just the media. That's what it is. But the fact that there are like huge celebrities now, like the likes of like Marshmallow, we talked about this morning in the thing. Is it Marshmallow and the what's
Drake.
that? Drake, yeah, playing Jesse Lingard, like all these people now talking about games, getting it into the public eye and getting people to accept that gaming is, a legitimate means of entertaining yourself, and it's not just kids that are doing it these days.
It's kids and footballers.
Yeah,
kids and footballers.
You know what's great for me, man? Getting the kills up on Fortnite like nobody's business, man.
Because
all
the kids,
man. Yeah, exactly. Like lambs to the slaughter.
I remember when Fortnite came on the Switch, you were like, man, yeah, I won my first game on a Switch last night. Yeah, it's only like my third game actually. It's like, yeah, because they're all 7-year-old kids that have just played Zelda, and their name is like Hero of Time 67.
I've come to terms with that, and it still feels good. And I played it this weekend, and I'm like the bit, the fucking. It's like walking through a park and just going, I could lever any one of you fuckers. That's what it feels like. So Fortnite this is like Gaz has just said. Then Fortnite is like the best example, right? Because COD is like, okay, we made this COD game and it's about one thing, like I don't know, World War II or whatever. Yeah. And some zombies, and then we need to make sure our next year Call of Duty is about something else and zombies or whatever. But it's like these yearly iterations. Fortnite hasn't even been out for a year, and there's season 5 now. They're changing the map on the fly because it's like a service. They can change whatever they want. Literally, stuff happens in it. Like a rocket will land and destroy an area. That area is a crater now. The map is turned from swamp to desert. They don't need to be like PUBG and spend fucking 9 months and millions of pounds and thousands of Chinese cheaters to get a desert map. Yeah. They just pop it in.
And the way that they do it as well, they add it into the lore. It's like the story of the game. It's excellent.
That's a very almost Overwatch-ish kind of idea where it's a multiplayer game, but you've got this kind of constant,
it's like
story is being told, which is a really nice idea for the people who play it a lot.
And this is, fucking Epic and Unreal, who are known for not just like their contributions to gaming through their games, but also they make engines, and they have a store where they sell assets to devs. Yeah. And so they're a company that don't have all their eggs in this one basket. Luckily, this egg that they've got is worth more than any other fucking egg at the moment. And they are so lucky that they're getting all this money. This is bankrolling all their crazy ideas. Like, have you seen that thing where they have changed the Unity store now? So developers are getting 88% now rather than like 70%.
The Unreal Engine.
Yeah, that's it. So the store where you can buy the assets, which is where asset flips come from and stuff like that, and it, you hear people say about that.
That was a news story last week, wasn't it, where it was a discount, and then that's purely because Fortnite is doing so well that they are able to pass the savings on to you.
But no, what's brilliant is that like the split is 70-30, but it's now like 88-12, and that's going back 4 years. So anyone that's put anything over those 4 years,
back pay.
They're getting back pay, man. HMRC don't even do that, man.
Yeah, that's a tax thing in Britain.
I think that Epic are doing something with Fortnite that we haven't seen before, and the fact that it can move so fast is the reason it's a phenomenon. It's insane, and I wonder what the hell are they going to do next. They should be having a breather and think, let's just do something completely different. I don't think we're going to see a COD thing. Hopefully, Fortnite 2, Fortnite 3, Fortnite 4. They don't need to.
Hopefully they use that money they're obviously having a good time with it by sharing the savings with the developers and stuff, but hopefully they just kind of keep Fortnite going and maybe use some of that money to make other cool games, maybe a single player game, maybe like rather than trying to emulate the success of Fortnite and be like, let's have a different Fortnite with a different theme and a different saying and just have make a single player game. Maybe try and make some of the games like you used to make, right? Try and get like a Gears of War thing going again. Not make Gears of War, just make that kind of game, which is a new experience. That was a new kind of third-person cover shooter with chainsaws and it was like a fresh thing when it came out on the 360. try and get that kind of freshness again or something. I don't know.
Just wait to see what Brendan Green's doing and just copy that idea and make it better.
Do that, yeah, and better it, cartoonish, and there you go, winner. I think overall, is it right now good or harmful? It's a very difficult question to answer, and I think good or bad for the industry. I think it's just, it's just a huge game, and the negative coverage it gets is inevitable, but that's always going to come anyway. It doesn't matter what success it is. So you either choose to be like this kind of niche industry where you seem like just, gaming's a bit weird, and anything whenever anything comes out of it, it's like a negative thing.
Yeah.
But Fortnite has come out of it and it's just like boom, and it's huge, and it's ruining your kids. They're hooked on Fortnite, are they? Well, I mean, are they really?
Giving them £500, can you, Sandra?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. You get all these negative stories, but in that sense, it's like a lightning rod then as well, and everyone's just got their eyes on Fortnite, and so I think there's it's not good or bad. I don't think.
I think it's good for one reason. You can't deny that Fortnite is increasing the size of the gaming industry. For the people who haven't played games before, the people who go to school are like, oh, what's this Fortnite thing everyone's playing? The amount of people who are playing Fortnite now, the amount of people who may never have gamed even before in the past, the amount of people being introduced to gaming because of Fortnite, because Drake's playing it, because Jesse Lingard's doing a dance or whatever.
Also because Jake's playing it.
Drake.
Yeah.
Drake or Jake, either or, because everyone's
Jake
playing
Paul.
it.
Jake Paul been playing Fortnite?
Jake Paul, do you know?
Because of everybody who's talking about it, I feel like more people are coming into gaming who might not have been before. There's more people playing games, and they might then decide, oh, I like this game, I might try a different game. And that in itself, for me, is a one reason, might be the sole reason why Fortnite's popularity is great for the industry.
But let's leave it on a poignant question mark. Is bigger necessarily better? Matthew John Jenkins asks, is there a bit of a games news or journalism from the past that's so bonkers or controversial that stands out and you will always remember? So any stories that you will just seared into your mind from the games industry that you'll always remember? So this is Matthew John Jenkins. For me, it'll always be when the PS3 was announced, with having a boomerang-shaped controller and 7 USB ports, and then all those amazing trailers for games like Killzone 2, MotorStorm, and Resistance: Fall of Man. Yeah, Killzone 2's trailer was infamous, wasn't it? It was
my god! I remember getting a flipping disc. My boy had a PS2 magazine, and the disc. Demo disc came with the trailer, and we sat around this little tube telly thing. You know what I'm saying?
We wound it up.
Yeah, we turned the gramophone off, and honestly, I remember being like, "This is what games are gonna look like." I mean, now we're at that stage. We're better than that.
Well, yeah,
games look better than that.
Fast past.
I remember that, man. Jesus Christ, that was good. As for like games coverage being nuts.
It's a very difficult question, I think, for gaming news. I think things that just stick in your mind tend to be games that you enjoy. In terms of pure news, I guess, I don't know. It's just when games come out. It's just when games come out and they're either very controversial or they're very surprisingly good. I think the surprises are always what I remember. I remember people being surprised at how good Dead Space was. I remember people being surprised at how disappointed they were with No Man's Sky. I remember
that's a big event.
It's a big one, that, wasn't it?
I think for me, there's only one that really stands out. When I think of an example of something, and it's really menial, but it's just Silent Hill's being cancelled. Yeah. I was really shocked by that.
PT and that whole
PT and Kojima leaving Konami, but that Silent Hill's being cancelled because it had Junji Ito, fucking Junji Ito, Del Toro. And Hideo Kojima working on that game, and it was a Silent Hill game, and PT was amazing. That was a bit shit.
That was possibly the dumbest corporate decision ever made.
I agree, but yeah.
I can only speak for myself.
I was just like, I was dumbfounded.
I'm not saying worst. I'm just saying dumbest.
It is very silly. It'll be a pitch income machine in 10 years, but that was it. For me.
You got any big stories, Gus?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like one of the biggest ones that I can remember, the biggest story, is when they decided to change the end of Mass Effect 3.
That's a good one.
I think that's people say it's like maybe a landmark case of where the community has got the devs to change something in the game, and how going forward that changed everything in that respect. So I guess that is one that does stand out because They didn't have to change it, and they did. And now the game, maybe it leads gamers to expect different things from developers now. Like if it isn't good enough, they can shout loud enough and get it changed. And we've seen it a lot of times recently where that does happen.
Yeah, not necessarily for the better as well, as is fucking very recent cases. But they just that crowd control thing is no, crowd control is wrong. It's like that's controlling a crowd. I mean, the crowd has the control.
Yeah.
It's I think it's good and bad. It's like 100%. I think the idea of crowdfunding and the idea of Kickstarter and the idea of like things being happening because enough people say I want this game. I want this game to exist, please. And someone goes, I'll make you that game. And then they make it. That's really cool, and that's only possible with Twitter and Facebook and stuff. But it definitely has a very
Mass Effect thing was big, man.
That
my
was
same
cool.
friend that I watched his Killzone thing with Liam, right? He was the biggest Mass Effect fan I knew, and I remember him kicking off at that ending, and then hearing this news was like, share it over Facebook or whatever. Look at this, and that's good news for so many fans. But that the explosions they'll go down in history then, won't they? For sure. They will go down in history.
I said in the last podcast I really enjoyed Mass Effect 3, and I did. I stick by it. It was a great game. It was just what was the problem was when they started with Mass Effect 1, they were saying your choices now will affect the game that's coming out later in the series, right? And then they were promising this like a tale, and it did work through a lot of it. Through Mass Effect 2, the save carrying over thing was very cool. Like some characters were there, some weren't, and whatever. And then in the third one, it was kind of there, but it ended up being just like a database. Like it's like, oh, you did this, well done. So here's 500 points. You did this as well, so here's 200 points. And you didn't do this, no points for you, sir. And that was the war effort thing that they had, and it just so then they changed it, and they didn't really I'd say they added to it rather than changed the ending.
Yeah, it was like an epilogue thing.
It was more of a.
It felt more complete as an ending. That was big though, yeah.
But that was a big moment, yeah. But yeah, I think it's a tough one. If you guys got any memorable gaming news, let us know what it was down in the comments below, because considering we talk about it every day, I forget a lot of it.
Yeah, it's just so much, isn't it? In and out.
Yeah, it's just,
in one ear, out the other.
Yeah. It's just one more question before Fact of the Week from Stalin B. Ballin. Oh, that's not an endorsement of Stalin. Hey guys, new Patreon member here. Thanks for all the great content. Thank you, Stalin B. Ballin. LA Noire is one of my favourite games ever. I like this question a lot. LA Noire is one of my favourite games ever, but I feel it got bad reviews from the general public because it was released between GTA 4 and 5 and after Red Dead Redemption. So everyone had the wrong expectations for the title. Had it been published by anyone other than Rockstar, I can't help but feel it would have been better received by gamers. Can you think of any other game that got bad reviews by the general public because of the publisher who released it and because expectations were entirely wrong? I honestly can't. Cheers mates, and keep up the awesome work. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I like that question as a premise, because expectation is a huge thing. People don't talk about it enough as how it affects your interpretation of a game, whether or not you enjoy it. I think I wasn't expecting much at all from Horizon Zero Dawn, and I fucking loved it. And if I'd have been expecting the world, I probably would have been a bit more, lukewarm.
This is like a really good point, and it's something that only a handful of publishers have got that reputation, and I guess Bethesda's one of them. So when Rage came out and it wasn't Skyrim, Oblivion, that sort of stuff, I think that really
and id Software, and it wasn't as good as id Software's old stuff.
This is the thing, Bethesda didn't even fucking make it, right? They just published it, but just their name attached to it. Everyone I knew and people on the internet were just in the same state where they heard it was open world, and they all thought it was going to be like Oblivion or Fallout 3 or something, but Mad Maxy, and it wasn't. But then recently, when we were looking at Rage for Rage 2 coverage, I realised that quite a few people liked it. So that's, quite a few people putting it lightly. Quite a lot of people liked it. But that's the time I can remember expectation and reality having a bit of a mismatch there. I thought it was going to be a Bethesda Game Studios game when I played it, but it's just probably down to my lack of research. And same with everybody with LA Noire, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can kind of say the same thing for Fallout 4 to some extent. If you're the kind of person who picked up the Fallout series at Fallout 4 and you enjoyed the first-person combat in Fallout 4, you haven't played the rest, you think that's great, but for the expectations around what a Fallout would be, like the RPG and the dialogue tree being really scaled back and not what it was or whatever, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people expected more from a Fallout of the older fans, whereas a lot of people enjoyed it for what it was. It's not a traditional type of.
I think there's a weird thing going on there because Obsidian come in with New Vegas, do something different with it, do a fucking good job of it, and and remind people of the old original 90s Fallout games, and then Bethesda come back with Fallout 4 and they don't quite manage what Obsidian managed with New Vegas, and then it's like there's a different studio that's published by the same thing. That's cool. That's an interesting case as well.
Bethesda's previous effort was Skyrim, which is hugely popular. So that's the thing. Like on its own merit, I played Fallout 4 again recently, and it's well better now because my expectations are tempered. But at the time, that's it. When a new Bethesda Game Studios game comes out for me, it's a fucking event. Like I'll take days off work and shit. And I took 2 days off work to play it, and I was just like, fuck. But now I'm going back to it, and I'm enjoying it, because I know what to expect. So you're definitely right. Yeah.
I think an example of the company themselves saying this is Mass Effect Andromeda, because that was like 6 out of 10s everywhere, and then EA are now saying, well, it was only because it came out after Horizon Zero Dawn and Nier Automata and all these great games, and. It's like, and that's literally an excuse that they rolled out about a month or so ago, where they said that's what it was. The reason no one liked Andromeda was because it was all these other amazing games came out before.
Kids, aren't they?
It's just,
if you were there at the time, you know how not true that is.
Yeah.
But if you didn't play it at the time, you weren't there at the time, you might even believe that.
Yeah. So I think Andromeda is actually an interesting one, because imagine the thing is if you move the release dates around of anything, it completely changes the context. And this is an example I've rolled out multiple times before, but Dragon Age Inquisition and The Witcher 3. I played Inquisition after The Witcher 3, even though Inquisition came out before The Witcher 3. Vaguely similar things, fantasy, open world RPG. But Dragon Age Inquisition was like a boring, soulless, lifeless, empty vacuum compared to The Witcher 3, which was just incredible in terms of detail and the characters that were in it and the motivations you had for doing stuff, and it was just The Witcher 3 moved things forward for open world third person action RPGs like that, and Dragon Age Inquisition was just a bit not. So that's my example. I think that was a really good question, and thank you for asking that.
And a good
Stalin
point.
B balling. I look forward to some more good questions seeing as you're a new Patreon. Thank you very much. So let's move on then to Fact of the Week. Can we have the jingle, please? The early 90s TV series Sonic the Hedgehog was originally supposed to have a third season, hence the cliffhanger at the end of the second season. But sadly, the series was cancelled as it lost ratings too much to Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. That was to celebrate the release of Sonic Mania Plus on Nintendo Switch, PS4 and Xbox this week.
Great.
So let's move on to Dead Cred.
That's not sponsored.
That's not sponsored. No. I want to pick the facts based on something
this week's Fact of the Week brought to you by
Budweiser. I just want to make them. I just don't want to just pick facts out of my ass.
It's take contemporary, isn't it? Yeah, for sure. What it also does is archives the history of gaming as it goes on.
There you go. You're welcome, everyone. So let's do Dead Cred Redemption. Jingle for that, please. So Dead Cred Redemption, as you all know by now, is the weekly confession booth. If you want to give us an anonymous story about something that you've done that's embarrassing or shameful or something downright criminal, for example, then send it in to gaming@goliath-media.com. That's gaming@goliath-media.com. This is completely anonymous. We just read these stories out from our listeners and viewers and just help them alleviate their guilt, I guess, and just talk about the scandalous things they've done, like this. I did something diabolical many years ago that I am still ashamed of to this day. Back when the PS2 was very new, I really wanted one. My parents had gotten me a PS1 before, but they wouldn't buy the PS2. I knew a rich kid that had one, and he was always showing off to the neighbours. So I planned a heist. I snuck through the side gate when the housekeeper stepped out and pinched it from a table in a back room when the family was out on a trip. So he stole the guy's PS2.
Why would the PS2 be on the table? Go on.
I also timed my exit as she was coming back into the main gate and slid out of the side gate like something out of Metal Gear Solid. 2 weeks later, overwhelmed with guilt, I threw it in a backpack and walked over to his place to confess and return it. I found him with a group of friends. A short while later, he started bragging about he lost his PS2 in his house and his dad got him another one. I turned back and went home. To make matters worse, my parents bought me one a month later, so I now had 2 consoles. I felt terrible. I have never got over the guilt all these years later. That's a good one.
Is that from Agent 47?
That's from. It was like.
That's just a home invasion.
It was
You just
Snake.
documented the home invasion.
Yeah, that's
like
true.
The strangest.
But I like how you described like the heist, and then your first question was, why was it on the table? Not why the fuck is he stealing something?
He's a rich guy. He can put his PlayStation wherever he wants.
Exactly. Yeah. Fucking Peter, put the PlayStation on the table.
And the housekeeper was away. I mean, what?
Yeah.
She was
Where does he live? Like, is it fucking?
Yeah. He's got through the security gates, all right at the front.
Gone past the cameras,
Yeah.
like.
Your neighbour lives in a very rich
he's
neighbourhood, considering you're very poor. I'm not saying he's lying, but I'm just trying to help your legal defence here, in case,
Well, it's anonymous, so he doesn't have to worry about it.
True that. Well, that's a bit, there's a lot of questions again, this one. First of all,
Can we summarise the events first? He wanted a PS2. He couldn't have one from his parents. His mate gets a PS2. He steals his mate's PS2.
but it's not his mate, is it? It's just some fucking guy he knows,
Just,
isn't
just
it?
some neighbour,
Just some knobhead.
some braggy, rich neighbour.
All right, there's a loose.
It's
Acquaintance. He steals
because he's not. Because there's honour among thieves. He's not betraying a friend. He's just stealing.
Oh, it's an important detail, is it? Yeah, that's what I ask in court. So were you friends with him?
If Judge Judy would ask that, yeah.
Did you know this person?
Well, so he took the PlayStation, but did he take any games though? Do you know what I mean? He says he took it from the table. Was there a game in there? And if not, you don't have any games, bro. You've just got this PS2 there for like 2 weeks. You can't say, Mum, Dad, can I have a PS2 game? Because they'll say, pray, do tell. For
Where's
what?
your
You
PS2?
don't have a PS2.
Yeah, it wasn't well thought out at all. If you think about it,
It sounds like the actions of a small child. Something that would make sense to an 11-year-old.
So my question is, how did the games go? Did you get a controller with it? Did you get any games with it? And if not, because this is what I want to know, is it just an inanimate object sat there, just really a physical manifestation of your guilt, just there in the corner oppressing you, making you think I've done something bad? Or did you have fun on it, like... Were you able to play games on it and shit, or was it just there to remind you, you are a thief and knob? Yeah. But I want to know that.
No, I feel like that has to be the case. Right?
Well, yeah, he said he felt terrible, and he's never got over the guilt all these years later, which again implies that he's not actually told the fucking person that he's.
Yeah, that's
which is a running theme in these stories.
And the question still remains: how bad would he have felt had he not have gotten the PlayStation 2 off his parents? Would he have been alright with it because it was, essentially not needed?
So there you go. What's actually amazing is when you do that kind of thorough line of questioning, which we do quite regularly. What were you doing? They often follow up.
Reply.
They often, I don't know what to do with it really. I can just read it and go, oh, right.
No, I'm a curious cat, and I get DMs from people answering my questions, and I like it. So please answer me this question: did you get to play that PS2 that you stole, or was it just there? And if so, did you? What led you to almost give yourself in, but you didn't in the end, which is probably better.
Took 2 weeks as well.
Yeah.
2 weeks.
Did you have any games?
What did you do with it? Did you give it to charity, for example, or give it to somebody else who didn't have one? I feel like that would have been your redemption had you have passed it on to somebody who was less fortunate than yourself.
Did you trade it in for some games for your second console?
Yeah, exactly. You could do that.
So let us know, and in the meantime, I guess let's move on to part 2.
Part 2 of the podcast. So we're switching Gareth out. Should I do?
Yeah.
Watch this. Watch this.
Don't have a transaction.
Hey, we're back.
Hey,
and,
you alright, guys? How you doing?
A bit of editing magic there.
Yeah.
Did a little cut, and then
Very
what happened
nice.
was 10 minutes ago when Gaz was going, did a little cut, and then he left, and now when you're back, I did it again, and it looked like
Wow, a peek behind the magic curtain for you all there. Let's do some more questions, shall we? Mank Macker asks, hi guys, what's your most important thing in gaming out of these 3 choices? I read that a bit wrong, but that's basically what the question is. What's your... I'll do it again. Hi guys, what's most important for you in gaming out of these 3 choices? Okay, ready? What's your most important thing? Resolution, gameplay, or frame rate?
Gameplay? That seems like a pretty number.
Rob Lowe asks, I've recently brought a PS3 to play some games I never got round to first time. Get a load of this, right? First time playing these games. Mass Effect series, Red Dead Redemption, Dead Space, Bioshock, and the Fallouts.
Couple of good ones there, mate. Yeah, you got.
You want to fuck off?
That's pretty much every acclaimed game from the past 10 years.
That's. I'm very jealous, Rob Lowe.
So, what you want to do? Yeah, just play Mass Effect 2.
Well, hang on, no,
3, and
hang on.
It. Fuck them.
Herein lies the question. I'm about to finish the first Mass Effect, which I am enjoying very much. Yeah. In your opinion, should I continue with Mass Effect, or do you think I should move on to Red Dead in preparation of the sequel coming out, or should I try something else? Also, what is your back catalogue that you really wish you could get around to playing? So this is, I mean,
it's
Mass
a multi-layered question.
Are you asking us, should you play Mass Effect 2 now?
It is, yeah.
Should I play Mass Effect 2 next? Yes.
Is he saying, like, should I take a break?
No, he's
split it up.
He's asking, well, the big question is Mass Effect 2 next or Red Dead Redemption?
Yeah, that's what, like... Is he like? Does he just like power through the Mass Effect trilogy?
Yeah.
Or does he take a break, play Red Dead, and then play Mass Effect 2 after that?
Well, here's my answer. There is no right answer, but the right answer is Mass Effect 2. Just do Mass Effect 2. It's fucking amazing. If you really enjoyed Mass Effect 1, you're gonna have a lovely time with Mass Effect 2, mate, because it's a better game and it's.
I think it's
all
one of the
round
most acclaimed of the generation.
It is,
basically one of the most acclaimed.
I'll tell you what,
Yeah.
This is how confident I am, Rob, right? Play the first hour of Mass Effect 2. If that doesn't hook you, go and play Red Dead. But it starts off fucking great, doesn't it? Mass Effect 2.
Good start,
yeah. I reckon you play through them in a row. You'll get that momentum. You'll be a bit more immersed in the lore. Everything will matter more to you. You know, if you can probably do the trilogy and a bit of Red Dead before October because we're only in July now. So I don't know how much free time you've got. I'm making a lot of assumptions about your life here, Rob. But Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3 I would do, and then Red Dead because, like I'm saying, that momentum it'll help get you through. You're not going to go after spending hours with John Marston. Go, hang on a minute, he was a Shepard. What? Shepwell? What's his name? You'll just be like, straight in, Krogan's, Genophage, done. Just do it. Mass Effect 2, man.
Just play all those games you put in a list. Make sure you play every single one of every single series that you've got there. Mass Effect, Red Dead, Dead Space, Bioshock, Fallout. Just do all of them that you possibly can because they're all amazing. And they're all very
good games, yeah.
And Mass Effect 2 is pretty much as close as BioWare has come to a masterpiece in a very long time. So play that.
Yes.
Also, what is our back catalogue?
That was a little sneaky one at the end.
Yeah, let's each pick a game from our back catalogue right now that we need to play next.
Pillars of Eternity 2.
Oh my god, no way. Pillars of Eternity.
You're on?
Yeah.
Pillars of Eternity 2.
That's what I put there. Look, it's in writing. What's yours then? Don't say Pillars of Eternity.
No, it's not Pillars of Eternity.
Tyranny?
No, I don't know. I've got too many that I really need to get around to.
Is it Torment Tides of Numenera?
It is not Torment Tides of Numenera. Gravity Rush 2, that's been in my backlog forever. And the servers for it shut down tomorrow. So,
oh no, last chance saloon tonight.
I mean, only for multiplayer, but you can still play it. But I'm not going to get it done, am I?
What about Yakuza? You would normally have one of them. At all times.
Like 3 of them.
I put Sleeping Dogs on mine as well. I put currently Sleeping Dogs and Pillars. They're my picks.
Try not to say Yakuza because I went on about it last week.
Oh, did you? Okay, right.
Quite a lot as well last week.
There you go.
I'll give it
I mean, when is there?
I don't want to bore people.
With Yakuza, nah, man, it sounds too wacky. I'm gonna play a Yakuza game, but it doesn't count as back catalogue because I don't own it. Pillars 2, I have it. I'm just sitting there.
Yeah,
I have owned it for like a year.
Yeah, I've got a massive back catalogue, but I think it's better if we just pick one each. Yeah. So thanks for the question there. Next question, Hisham Barrow, who says, "Hey guys, what are some of your pet peeves in games? For example, big uncustomized HUD really annoy me, like in Neo, mapping the run button to X and not giving me the option to change it like in The Witcher 3. How am I supposed to control the camera while running? And silent protagonists in third-person perspective games like in Dragon's Dogma. What are some of yours? I think the Witcher 3 run thing is absolutely spot on. Very.
You have to utilise the
well
claw
observed.
technique.
The old claw grip.
The classic claw, yeah.
Which, that's not how you hold the controller, is it? So they've done it wrong.
True.
I'm going to say unskippable cutscenes. Because there is nothing worse than if you're at a hard boss fight and it keeps killing you, and then you keep having to watch the same cutscene over and over again, to the point where you memorise the dialogue.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse than that.
And if you're playing the game again, which is something that you do as well, right? So, you might want to revisit an old friend, go and play a classic, and then you've got to sit through quite a lot of shit. Especially if it's like a big plot revelation, but you already know it, so it's just like, come on.
I think in the Uncharted HD remaster collection thing, they put a speedrun mode in, which just lets you, I think it skips all the cutscenes.
That's really cool.
So it's just like gameplay all the way through.
That's a pretty nice feature for people who want to revisit games. I don't really know what... I don't really like fighting with the face buttons. I'm kind of over that now.
Fighting with the face buttons?
Yeah, in games, man. Like, I don't know.
Like hitting
square being a
button masher.
Attack. No, just any game really. Like
Batman Arkham Combat type thing.
Yeah, I'd like it if I could just use the fucking shoulders for everything. Yeah, it's just really nice. So
it's good because it gives you the freedom of camera movement.
Yeah,
and because your thumb is on the right stick rather than on the button, so you can move the camera.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that, and
that is good.
I like that.
And they're doing it in a lot of games. It's the PlayStation exclusives seem to like it, don't they? Horizon and God of War, and they've picked it up. Big style. I'm with you on the HUD there, Hisham Barrow. I did a video about UI in Far Cry, so I'm totally with you there. But when I like it when it's done well, and I really get annoyed when it's done badly. So I'm totally with you, and I completely agree with the button mapping on The Witcher 3, which is just daft, isn't it? Thanks for that. Harry Pryor says, "Hey lads, first off, I want to say you're my favourite YouTube channel." Well, thank you very much, Harry.
Thank you.
I've recently started playing The Witcher 3 again, and I'm getting into modding, and it got me thinking. If you could have mod support or a modding community like Skyrim's or Fallout's for any game, what would it be? So this isn't a dream mod or anything. If you could have build a kind of community and support like Bethesda has done really well, because there's a lot of games that just do not allow modding. Basically, full stop.
Yeah.
And some games where you think that's got a bit of mods in there, but it's not really. It doesn't really. It's not a huge bustling kind of scene. So I don't know. Have you guys got any?
Yeah, man, just fucking get loads of modders. Not modders, just like storytellers and that to just do loads of custom campaigns in Divinity Original Sin 2.
Give me
the Fellowship of the Ring. Give me the fucking Fellowship of the Ring. 8 people in the fucking party.
You could do that.
You could do it, couldn't you? You can do it. That's the thing. Nothing needs to be developed for it. It can be done now.
Yeah.
Just do it. Just get a big, massive community.
Just
do it. Do it. I mean, they've got like the D&D campaigns and that, but yeah, I would just like to see some classics. Just make a nice campaign in it, just of like Lord of the Rings, but in Divinity. I'd play that. Cheers.
That's good answer.
Good. I've got 2: Metal Gear Solid 5 and Dead Rising. Just because imagine the amount of stuff you could come up with in sandboxes like that.
Yeah.
It'd be you could come up with some, like Metal Gear 5, you could do like entire campaigns and stuff.
It really could. They're massive.
And imagine it's got the gameplay there. It's got an open world. Just let people put stuff in it.
Yeah.
It'd be good.
Dead Rising would be
Dead Rising,
would be a
you
good
got
laugh.
all the combo weapons and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it'd be well good.
It would be that would be a good laugh. That I think I like them kind of. I think you're totally right about having it being a sandbox environment. It's kind of like what Ubisoft are trying to do with Far Cry 5 in the arcade.
Yeah.
And they're trying to encourage that. Like, here's like a first-person shooter engine.
Yeah.
You make whatever you want out of it, and they are trying to make that happen. So I guess I'd go with you there, Liam. Just like any kind of good open world game with a good foundation for other stuff on top of it. Laura Money asks, I've never played an Assassin's Creed game in my life, but with Odyssey having a badass female PC option, BioWare style RPG elements, and my favourite historical setting ever, I don't think I can resist. Are there any popular series that you came to late? What elements make a game must play for you?
What elements?
And what so they come into Assassin's Creed late because they're just so specifically tempted over by the setting and stuff and the changes for Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
Yeah. For sure, which is cool because that's the sort of thing that I guess they try and hook people with in Assassin's Creed. I think games that really catch my interest are ones that have got full-on stats, like, you know, in dex, strength and all that. Any game like that, I'm always interested.
RPG.
Yeah, like, you know, proper RPG stuff in it. And when I say proper, I mean traditional. Yeah, fuck off. You know, like pen and paper style RPG shit.
Building your character with
Yeah.
you know.
I love a bit of voice acting in a game like that as well, because that's the thing. Anybody can do these giant games with loads of text, but it makes me really fancy the game a lot more if it is voice acted. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. If you've got both of them in your game, there's a chance that you've put a lot of effort into it, and it's going to be very versatile. So that's when I'll immediately go. I'll go over there.
Yeah.
But any series that I came to late, yeah, Total War, man. Like, I just got Total War at Warhammer 2, which is...
You got big into that, didn't you? You really enjoyed it.
I spent a lot of hours in it,
Yeah.
and then I got Warhammer, and I've had Shogun for years, but I still haven't booted it up because I still don't feel like I'm done with Warhammer 2, or Warhammer 1 for that matter. Like, you know, Thrones of Britannia, I played it, we got it before it came out, played it then, played it when it came out. It was pretty good, but no, Warhammer, man, and I'm looking forward to the next one. So yeah, I'd say that.
I've got 4 Total Wars installed on my PC at the moment.
Do you have them all time, like one of them CD changes? You just changed them out.
He has them all running the result tabs between
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a way to speed up them end sort of 100 move campaigns.
Liam, what about you? I imagine there's loads of series you've come to.
So probably the biggest one is Zelda, you know. I didn't actually complete a Zelda game until Ocarina of Time 3D, that remake on the 3DS. That was the very first Zelda game I completed.
Yeah.
I think is about
That's basically
6 years old, I think. About
It was like
2012.
about 2012, 2013.
that is quite late, but I think that's the series is true of basically everyone, because a lot of people would have come to it at Ocarina, and a lot of people would have come to it like after that as well. So and the series is obviously predates that by quite a while.
I did play Ocarina of Time on the N64, but I never owned it myself. It was always like around the mate's house, and I just never played them until not properly anyway, until 3D remake.
Metal Gear Solid's a big one probably for a lot of people, because Metal Gear was
that's when it gets a bit slippery, innit? Because Metal Gear Solid series is like 98, but Metal Gear, same with Zelda, innit? It's like I got into Zelda like Link's Awakening, which I think is like considered like second gen Zelda.
Right.
But before that there was The Legend of Zelda, and there was Zelda 2.
Yeah.
But then they had, you know, Link's Awakening and fucking, you know, what's that other one called? Link to the Past. On the SNES, and the other one was on the Game Boy, and then they did all the other Game Boy ones. But yeah, so even that I guess is late. But yeah,
I think specifically coming into it a late entry in the series, because there's so many that I've played. Like I've gone back and played the first Dishonored, I've gone back and played the Dark Souls, or I've gone back and played whatever. You know, that doesn't really count because I've consciously gone. I missed that. I should go back.
Yeah.
But I think there's probably quite a few out there where, you know, the third or fourth entry comes out and you're like, that looks decent. Actually, Far Cry, I reckon, is one of mine. Far Cry 3 is where I really got into them games. Crysis 2, I missed. There's loads of them, absolutely loads of them.
Final Fantasy 7 and 8. I know 7 came out here before it, like anything else, right? But that's funny to think, isn't it? That most people who played Final Fantasy when it came over here started on 7. 7.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
To be fair, in Europe they didn't actually come out until like 7.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So even though like the first wave of people, like I played 7 when it came out, or like just a year after or something, and
that would be the first experience of it.
Yes, because they retroactively released 4 and 5 and stuff. But so I mean, I reckon that'd be an answer for a lot of people.
Yeah,
most people I know don't even haven't even played. Loads of people on the stream and in our comment section still haven't played the Final Fantasy game. Don't know if you've if you knew that. Yeah.
That needs fixing.
Educate yourselves.
Let us know if you've never played a Final Fantasy game.
Barbarians,
please
play them all.
Let us know.
Play them all. Yeah, see you in about 5,000 hours.
Hey, I've played them all.
And he turned out just fine, all right?
Yeah, I turned out all right.
Call of Duty. That's a big series that people would have missed the 1, 2, and 3 probably. A lot of people would have come to it at Modern Warfare.
I started on 2 on PC.
Yeah, that was a big one, and that was the big next gen one, I think. Wasn't it? Was that the big like 3, like Big Red one or something like that was one as well?
Yeah,
where It just came out on the console, and that was the big console version when people had 360s. Yeah, there's too many answers there. There's too many answers for you.
A picture on Facebook that like if you're an old school gamer, and it was Modern Warfare 2.
Oh, come on.
Like,
Right, Sean Roberts asks, are you VR gamers? Do any of you have a rig at home? If not, when do you think you'll consider getting into it? Are there any games that you've seen that's made you consider getting a home system? So that's the big question, because none of us have VR, really.
No.
all played it.
All done it, yeah,
tried it, yeah.
and it's all right. I'm a million miles off considering getting it, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I've played it, it's good, but I just can't see myself doing it on my own.
I don't know. The hardware's not quite there yet for me. Like in terms of like comfort and stuff like that, and you know, like because I have to wear glasses, putting a VR headset over glasses is a pain in the arse.
If I had that kind of money going spare, there are so many other things that I want ahead of it that I just wouldn't go for it. You know, you're talking minimum. How much is an Oculus now? $350?
Get an Oculus for $350, yeah.
And but
you can get a graphics card. For
you can get all kinds of good stuff for $350 when you're into video games.
Yeah.
You know, there's so many other things that I would choose above it, even down to things like a monitor for my PC that I don't need. I would rather have a much better monitor than a VR headset, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Which would be a luxury, but that's a luxury I'd choose over VR. I don't know why. It's just that's the kind of pecking order. And so, what would it take for us to consider getting into it?
There are a few games that have made me consider VR. Beat Saber being one of them, because that looks.
That's the only one I can think of.
I haven't actually played that, but I really want to.
Yeah.
Everything I've seen of it looks really good. Res Infinite, the VR mode on that, I'd want to try because I played the normal bog standard one, and it was great. And I was like, this would be good in VR. But yeah, that's about it. I think.
Tetris.
Oh, Tetris Effect. I would actually do that, you know.
Sensing a bit of a theme here. They're all them sort of like beaty cool.
They're all the weird little psychedelic games.
Yeah. No, it's games is the answer. I reckon it is games. You know, my brother had HTC Vive, sold it since because there's just nothing coming out for it. There's, you know, when he wants to play a game, he just ends up playing fucking Overwatch or whatever he's doing. So it's
there's very demo oriented software, isn't it?
A lot of the games like tech demo-y type stuff right now.
Most people I know that have a Vive or whatever have had it for more than 6 months and it's gathering dust. Just because there's no games for it, you know. And I like you're saying, there's like loads of things I'd buy rather than if I had just like VR money, I'd be like, just
graphics card,
actually,
monitor.
You know what would do it for me? Time Crisis in VR.
A proper Time
Or
Crisis
House of the Dead.
Would be good, yeah.
Give me those old arcade games in VR. I'd get on with that.
Is that worth HTC Vive money for you?
Time Crisis, yeah.
It's Liam we're talking
this
about.
This guy's a madman. This guy's a loose cannon.
You know, they'd work though because they're static anyway, right?
Yeah. We can't have the little light guns anymore because we don't have big CRT tellies and they don't work on LCD. So.
No. What a tragic loss that is for.
It is, man.
Well,
the Wii was the last hope, and it's gone now.
Yeah. Well, you could do it with like a Kinect.
Yeah, you could do it with like the PlayStation Move pointer or whatever.
But
Time Crisis.
Just bring back Time Crisis, all right? That's all I want.
Time Crisis, Dino Crisis.
I would love to see the games industry under Liam's stewardship. If Liam was like some kind of...
It would be games ending crisis.
Dinos and time,
and
remember?
the PS Vita would be dead celebrated.
It would if Liam was like some Jeff Bezos kind of super billionaire, like, and if he was just running the games industry single-handed.
I'll follow him.
I would love bring back Time Crisis.
I have such a diverse taste in games. I reckon I'll be well good at it.
Yep. It'd be like
there would be something for everyone.
There would be something for everyone, but most people would not like
the
all of it.
The headline of E3 2019 would be Armored Core 2 or something.
I've never actually played Armored Core.
Oh no,
so
one time.
I can't say for that. I can't speak to that one.
Yeah, that fixed, didn't it? So there you go. Thanks, Sean, for that. There's only a couple more questions left. Army of One says, are there any games with known cut content that you wish had been included in the final product? No, you like this one, guys. For me, it is the battle against Professor Oak in the first generation Pokemon games. The battle is still accessible via a glitch, and he is the most powerful trainer in the entire game. So that was some content that was apparently removed from the first gen Pokemon games for whatever reason. But you can actually do it via a glitch. There's loads of stuff like this, and the one I keep banging on about, but god damn it, is the restored content thing from Knights of the Old Republic 2, because they just didn't finish the game, and that was more of a push against time. It was like crunch, they just couldn't do it, and it wasn't like they didn't go, we should remove that. They just couldn't manage it in time and with the resources and whatever. So that game came out as it was. So that's definitely mine. I'd like to see the Knights of the Republic 2 if Obsidian had like another year to work on it. That's what I would want. What you guys? What about Deus Ex getting cut in half? Deus Ex Mankind Divided.
Yeah, so I don't. I'd love that because I really love that series, but it's not looking likely.
Square Enix chopped the ending off because they thought
they
was
wanted to
be
make a sequel. Yeah, the game literally ends with a brief chat in your apartment. What's that about?
It's a bloody Allen movie, that.
Literally, after you stop like a terrorist plot from blowing up a skyscraper, like Die Hard style.
Yeah.
And then you have a brief chat in your kitchen, and then the credits roll.
The
fuck is that?
Drama.
Yeah, I can't really remember. I mean, I do look at the cut content and stuff like that quite a bit on YouTube, but
there's a lot of Soulsy, Bloodborne.
There's a lot of stuff.
Recently, Bloodborne's been like hacked to fuck, and people have been like Zuli the Witch and stuff. Modders have been going in and finding all sorts of stuff, and it's all good, like, but. You know,
you can always tell why though. Every one I've seen, I've gone, that's a bit too generic. That's a bit too.
Yeah, that's just a skeleton.
That's
just a skeleton.
That's just a blobby, monstery, wolfy thing.
Yeah,
there's already about 3 of them in the game. So you know, it's just something about it that just doesn't feel like, you know, good enough. It just doesn't feel, you know. So I can always kind of see. So I've not seen anything in the Bloodborne, you know, people jumping into the Chalice dungeons in that game and stuff, which is like endless. A lot of it's procedurally generated type stuff that you know, and that's how they're finding these bosses that are buried in the game.
Yeah.
But they just didn't really make it into the mainstream main
There's
line.
There's one
bit.
like old one thing, like a old.
Oh, that was quite cool. That was quite cool.
You know, that was about it for like cool looking shit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not. I can't really remember any games that have had like really cool features cut. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
there's a lot of the stuff that when you watch like no clip documentaries and stuff, and the developers always like say like, oh, originally we had this idea and that was terrible, and then we moved on to usually the thing that gets cut is in favor of something good. Like just having more stuff doesn't make it a better game a lot of the time, I think, and refinement is very important. Which is why some games are as good as they are. It's because all the fat has been cleaned off them, and that's what it is. So anyway, thanks for the question, Army of One. Lady B Games with the penultimate one. It's a dark and stormy night in Wales. The power goes out, and all you're left with is a torch and a cupboard of tabletop games. Question: what do you play to pass the time? Liam, if you were in that situation, imagine. I know it's difficult, but imagine a dark, stormy night in Wales, and you've got a load of board games, no power. What are you going to play?
Mousetrap.
Everyone's here like expecting some kind of
lightning cracks
kickstarted
and then just illuminated by the flash of lightning, Liam dusts off the old tomb. Mousetrap. He puts his hand and goes, lads, it's time. Thunder rumbles. Scene.
I've never really been into board games that much.
No, me neither.
It's like it would be all the really boring shit like Mousetrap, Cluedo, Monopoly, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Game of life. Why not?
Have you seen any video gamey type ones that you've thought I would play?
There's a Resident Evil 2 board game that looks pretty cool.
It
was kickstarted not too long ago.
Yeah.
Recent new one.
Quite recent, yeah. And that looks quite cool. The Dark Souls board game as well.
Looks good. That does look good.
I tell you what I fancy is the XCOM one, and it's not based on XCOM 2. It's based on the base XCOM from Firaxis, and it's like a co-op thing. So you work together, and that board game was so good and so well designed that they brought elements over into XCOM 2.
That's cool.
So the designers were like, because there's like these random events that come up and stuff with cards that are represented by cards, and then they were like, that's really good. We'll get that in the game, you know. And there's multiple ideas that they brought over. So that's definitely one I
think that this is like geek culture and whatever. You know.
Yeah.
I really think this is the big resurgence waiting to happen. I really think
tabletop.
Yeah,
it's already happening, isn't it? It's happening within the bubble.
Yes, exactly. It's about to burst, I reckon, and it'll be big again. There'll be games workshops will be having big things. I reckon
they've recently rebooted Warhammer with I can't remember what it's called.
Is it like Age of Sigmar?
Something like that. So that's the old Warhammer, which is what the Total War is based on.
The high fantasy looking stuff.
Yeah, and that's kind of the storyline of that has moved on to a point where it's now more like biblical, dark, light, and they've rebooted that kind of thing, and that apparently is very popular.
They finally put out, like I was saying a couple of podcasts ago, they recently put out in March some new Magic the Gathering gathering stuff. But as for my answer, I would listen. I'd phone up Johnny Chiodini. I'd say, Johnny, it's me, Jake. Remember that guy that looks a bit like you? Listen, bring 5 of your finest, most favourite craft beers at the moment, and we're gonna play a bit. And you can.
He's like, just 5.
Yeah, and I'll say like, let's listen. It's only a Tuesday, and I'll say, why don't we play that H.P. Lovecraft Call of Cthulhu board game? And he'd say, yeah, mate, I'd be fine for that. And then we'd arrange it, and then we'd do that. But that looks good. My cousin's actually was a backer of it, and he keeps saying, "Oh, come up and play it," but he lives about an hour and a half away. So just justifying going a 3-hour round trip to play a board game that would probably take about 3 hours. It's but I mean, I'm interested in that, and I think this is something I personally am going to be looking into soon. Is trying to get a nice little tabletop game. I'm falling into it, and it's makes me feel a bit weird.
Kickstarter for board games is much more successful and stable than video games. I
was going to write a video about this, once, but I just never got around to it. And it's just proving my point more and more now. And I'm kind of thinking, fuck, I wish I did that in November. I was going to write the kicks. You should see the percentage, shouldn't you?
It's huge.
Big guys have probably seen it. But
we've done a news video on it.
For those that don't know, the money is insane. It's like 800% more profitable than video games, tabletop stuff. It's mad.
Yeah, it's really big. But Liam, Mousetrap.
Yeah, why not?
I mean, it's probably just as much, if not more.
Yeah, but just over here by Liam, there's a window, and I just imagine like the lightning going. Like I'm picturing it. It's really.
Either that or a card game. Me and my mates used to play in sixth form called Shithead.
I know this game.
Yeah, we played that a lot.
Right. Shithead.
Right, listen.
We had to call it Shed, so the teachers didn't tell us off.
Very crafty. Very crafty.
I speak about this. It was only 4 years ago. I was still playing this.
Oh, you're killing me. Gareth McKelvey asks the last question of the podcast. When I was still in school, I used to love Warhammer 40k. I still remember trying to paint the little dudes.
Oh, that's weird.
What would you say to a Vermintide style game set in the 40k universe? Yeah, sounds good.
Isn't have to have more guns and that, wouldn't it?
Isn't there? I think there's one called Deathwing, isn't there? It's like Left 4 Dead-y style, but it's not meant to be very polished. It's meant to be a bit buggy.
Yeah.
But I think it does exist.
I quite like the melee aspect of...
I do like the Space Marines and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm into like the sorcery spell casting shit. So I don't know how much I'd prefer.
There's a lot of melee in 40k though. There's a lot of knives.
They literally have chainsaw swords, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well then, yeah.
And big like hammers with psychic powers and shit.
It could work if they had if the next one was not. I think Vermintide 2, they've just nailed it. It's just you don't need to have Vermintide 3. I don't think. Just keep building on it.
Keep updating it. Yeah.
And if they shifted their attentions onto a 40k one. Yeah, could be.
The developers for sure.
Because they know we know they can do a good job of it. So
use the same engine in it, but the
same rule set.
I guess exactly, and I guess
AI,
the years and years apart in the lore is making it. It differentiates it enough. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So. Yeah,
it'd be a good sequel. A good sequel would be a Warhammer, but I don't know how you get away from the Vermintide thing. But But to be honest with you guys, I didn't actually think we were going to talk about that. I was just going to say, it sounds nice, and end it. But
we went with our fucking. Here we are, our opinions again, isn't it?
But I couldn't quite cut you off quickly enough, so we actually had to answer the question, which is quite annoying for me, to be honest. That's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to just end the podcast like this. Thank you for watching and listening to episode 72 of the Pretty Good Gaming Podcast. Thank you to all our kind patrons who support us and then ask us these questions, which help us put the podcast together. If you listen to this and you want to do that and you want to ask us a question, you want to support us on Patreon, there'll be a link in the description. You can join us for $1 a month, and you can get these podcasts early and ask us a ton of questions and other good stuff as well. Thank you everyone for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll be back next week with episode 73. I was who was I this week? Ricky Nelson. This is Jake Kulkowski and Liam McKelvey. Liam's looks completely derailed me. But I was Ricky Nelson. Liam was like, who?
Yeah.
Sorry. Bye.
See ya.